Welcome to the Tom Sense Show. We are on the air and coming to you right now. Remember, you do not have to wait until the end of the broadcast to speak up. If you have a real question that is worth answering, throw it into the chat on YouTube or over on X right now, in the middle of the news, and I will take it live. Let us get straight into the stories making headlines this hour. We start in Washington, D.C., where the unelected deep state has just found another friend in a black robe. Federal Judge Theodore Chuang has blocked the Trump administration from stopping the massive $555 million federal bureaucracy bypass to Greenbelt, Maryland. The administration wanted to keep the Federal Bureau of Investigation headquarters right in the nation's capital by repurposing the Ronald Reagan building. That saves the taxpayers' money, keeps the agency close to the heart of government, and prevents a massive construction boondoggle. But the state of Maryland and Prince George's County sued, and this judge decided that a decade-long site selection process is apparently more sacred than the direct orders of a newly elected president. Let us look at what is actually happening here. The General Services Administration and Federal Bureau of Investigation Director Kash Patel are trying to rein in wasteful spending and clean up the agency. Instead, they are being told by a single judge that they must build a brand new suburban palace. The Federal Bureau of Investigation itself released a statement calling out the court for putting politics over cost effectiveness, and they are completely right. If the federal government ran its budget the way these local politicians run their court cases, the country would have gone bankrupt decades ago. Shlomo Pearl 4946 is asking over in the YouTube chat if this judge should go to jail. Look, Shlomi, I do not think we need to put the guy in a cell, but let us follow their logic all the way. If a federal judge can step in and tell the President of the United States exactly how and where to run his own executive departments, then why do we even bother holding presidential elections? If the bureaucrats and the judges get to make the final call on where the Federal Bureau of Investigation sits, we might as well just let the judges run the entire budget. It is completely upside down. Good. Let's carry on. This is not about administrative procedure. It is about protecting a $500 million government project that nobody but the local developers and Maryland politicians actually want. We will see how long this block holds once the administration appeals, but for now, the swamp is fighting hard to keep its new home. Next up, the United States is drawing a hard line against globalist overreach. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced heavy sanctions against International Criminal Court President Tomoko Akane of Japan and senior trial lawyer Abdoulaye Seye of Senegal. This is a direct response to the Hague-based court trying to exercise jurisdiction over countries that never signed up for their little club, specifically Israel. The sanctions freeze any assets these court officials hold in the United States and completely ban American citizens and businesses from doing any business with them. The International Criminal Court is crying foul, claiming this decision undermines the international legal order. But let us be completely honest with ourselves. If these international bureaucrats actually cared about the rule of law, they would not be trying to put democratically elected leaders like Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on trial while actual terrorists run free. The United States and Israel are not members of the International Criminal Court. We never agreed to let foreign judges who are completely unaccountable to our voters dictate how we defend our nations. The Trump administration is sending a clear message that if you try to use international bodies as a weapon against our allies, we will shut down your access to the American financial system. It is about time we put American sovereignty and the sovereignty of our allies ahead of the feelings of unelected global lawyers. This is what a strong, America-first foreign policy looks like under Marco Rubio. Now to a massive border state showdown. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison has filed a lawsuit against Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Ellison wants to force the extradition of Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent Christian Castro back to Minnesota to stand trial. Castro is facing charges for second-degree assault and making a false report after an incident in Minneapolis where he allegedly fired a weapon through a door, injuring an immigrant from Venezuela, and then allegedly lied about how the event happened. Castro was arrested in Texas back in May, but Governor Abbott has not signed the extradition papers. Ellison is complaining that if Castro is not sent back soon, a 90-day limit under Texas law will expire and the agent could walk free. Minnesota prosecutors are claiming this should just be a routine administrative transfer. But of course, the political theater here is off the charts. We have a far-left attorney general in Minnesota trying to make an example of a federal immigration officer, while the state of Texas is doing everything it can to protect those who work to secure the border. If Minnesota politicians spent half as much energy prosecuting the criminals who are actually tearing their own cities apart as they do going after law enforcement officers, their state might actually be a safe place to live. Instead, they are dedicating state resources to sue another governor. This is a direct political stunt, and Governor Abbott is holding the line against a weaponized legal system. We turn now to some tragic news out of Hawaii, where Tropical Storm Lala has left a path of destruction across the islands. We must report this straight, as the storm has claimed the life of a 90-year-old woman in Nalahu. She was reported missing during the peak of the storm and was tragically found dead on Monday. Lala first hit the Big Island on Saturday as a Category 1 hurricane, bringing winds up to 75 miles per hour and dropping torrential rain across the region, before it was downgraded to a tropical storm. Hawaii Governor Josh Green has reported that at least 100 homes have been damaged or completely destroyed by the severe weather. The governor has ordered the closure of all public schools and government offices on the Big Island, as emergency crews work to restore power to thousands of residents who remain in the dark. Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda has also launched active search and rescue operations following reports that multiple homes were swept entirely off their foundations by the floodwaters. This is a developing situation as local emergency services work around the clock to clear debris, assess the safety of local infrastructure, and help families who have lost their homes. Our thoughts are with the people of Hawaii as they navigate this difficult recovery and search for those who are still missing in the aftermath of this powerful storm. In California, a massive legal battle is officially underway against big tech. The landmark federal trial against Meta Platforms started on Tuesday in Oakland. 29 states have teamed up to sue the company behind Facebook and Instagram, seeking up to a staggering $1.4 trillion in damages and demanding major changes to how these platforms operate. The states are arguing that Meta intentionally designed its platforms to hook young teenagers, using features like infinite scrolling, photo filters, and like buttons to keep kids addicted. They also accuse Meta of violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act by gathering data on children under 13 without getting parental consent first. Meta is denying all the allegations and claims they have built plenty of tools to keep teenagers safe. But let us be honest. Everyone who has ever seen a kid stare blankly at a smartphone screen for 5 hours straight knows exactly what is going on here. These platforms were built by behavioral scientists specifically to capture and keep human attention, and the younger the brain, the easier it is to hook. Now the states are looking for a massive payday. If these tech companies really care about the safety of children as much as they claim in their public relations statements, they should have no problem showing the public every single piece of internal research they have on how these algorithms affect the developing minds of young Americans. Finally, we look across the ocean to London, where tens of thousands of people gathered in Trafalgar Square for a vigil. They were there to honor Jason Arday, a 41-year-old former sociology professor at the University of Cambridge who died suddenly last week. Arday was the youngest black professor in the history of Cambridge, but he had recently resigned from his position after facing a wave of plagiarism allegations and intense media coverage. He had strongly denied those accusations before his death. The organizers of the vigil, including a group called Stand Up to Racism, are calling the media investigation a racist witch hunt and are blaming the press for his sudden passing. Even the vice-chancellor of Cambridge University came out to condemn the media coverage, calling it a feeding frenzy. Now, people are calling for a public inquiry into how the press treats minority academics. This has started a massive, heated debate in the United Kingdom about journalistic standards and accountability. When academic institutions and media outlets focus entirely on identity politics instead of focusing on basic facts and fair procedures, everyone loses. The tragedy here is undeniable, But using a sudden death to launch a political campaign against the free press before any real investigation can take place shows just how quickly the left will weaponize any event to push their own narrative. That is the news for this hour. Thank you for joining me on the Tom Sense Show. Stay strong, keep your head up, and I will see you next time.